Now we're going to go into the talk story part of the evening where we talk about Hawaiian culture and Huna philosophy. And the philosophy is made of 7 ideas about life, which are that the world is what you think it is, there are no limits, energy flows where attention goes, now is the moment of power, to love is to be happy with, and all power comes from within, and effectiveness is the measure of truth. We talk about all these things and how to apply this knowledge and what we can learn from the Hawaiian culture in the way that I was brought up, and that's by question and answer. But I'm going to start the ball rolling because we're going to start off putting our focus on a particular proverb that is part of the philosophy and talk about that a little bit, and then we'll see wherever the questions take us after that. But this proverb is Pe-kamana'o-ek. Oftentimes, especially in proverbs, when Hawaiians would do a proverb, it'd be very, very simplified. And wouldn't think about, proper grammar. Sometimes they just, almost like a kind of poetry, they just put a couple of ideas together, and it was up to the listener to join those ideas and turn it into an experience. So this simple idea, the first part, Pe, what I just said, right? Okay, now, Pe-kamana'o. Now, Pe is a word, has a lot of meanings, but in this context it means something that comes up, okay? Something that comes up, something that appears. And mana'o means it's like thoughts. It's usually translated as thoughts, but in the Hawaiian context, it also includes thoughts and feelings. It's not just intellectual ideas. It's thoughts that come along with feelings about the thing you're thinking about or feeling about. So Pe-kamana'o, in this way of putting it, means when the thought appears or when the thought comes. Pe-ka-ike. Ike is a word that has to do with experience. It has to do with knowledge, but the kind of knowledge that comes from experience. Okay? And it also means sensory experience. It means visionary experience, dream experience. It can mean any kind of experience because experience is reality. So when the thought comes, experience happens. And this is based on that first principle that we put into English, that the world is what you think it is. And let's see if we can explore some of this concept here, because some people, when they first hear that, well, the world is a lot more than just what I think it is, well, there's no way for you to know that. Because the only world you can know is the world that you experience. And if you don't experience it, as far as you're concerned, it's unknown. When people bring up this idea about the fear of the unknown, you've heard that before, okay? That's impossible. You can't be afraid of something you have no experience with. What they're afraid of is not the unknown. They're afraid of not knowing. That something can happen and they won't know what to do. That's the fear, okay? Or that they'll botch it, or they'll make a mistake, or that it'll be something unexpected. But if they're afraid of anything, it's because there's something in their memory and some interpretation they have that says this is a bad or dangerous thing. If something were truly unknown to you, you had no previous experience whatsoever of any kind, you wouldn't even see it. You wouldn't even notice it. One of the things I like to let people know sometimes is if you were, let's say aliens landed. Aliens landed on the front lawn of the White House, okay? Or right in front of Iolani Palace on Honolulu. Let's make it personal and local. Well, there'd be a big news about it, and people would be talking about it, and everybody get excited about it, and some people feel good about it, and some people would feel bad about it. Lots of things would go on. On the other hand, if you were shopping let's say if you were at Foodland or Safeway or Big Save or someplace, and aliens appeared in the aisle, you probably either wouldn't notice them or wouldn't believe it was happening and put it out of your mind and go right on shopping because they're just out of context, out of experience, nothing to relate it to. And after you left the store, it would probably be just as quickly gone, like it never happened. We relate to the things we have experience with. Now, fortunately, we can learn new experiences. We have that capability, so that adds to our repertoire of possibilities. Okay? But what's going to happen with this, go back to this principle that we were talking about, this idea. This idea also says that you're going to see pretty much and feel what you expect to see and feel. Because you have beliefs and you have expectations and you have previous memories of previous experiences, and all these things color how you're going to interpret whatever happens to you. So your world, meaning your experience of the world, is going to be what you think it is. And 2 people, 12 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people can be present for a particular experience, and you'll have that many different interpretations and different personal experiences of that event. Now, where this starts to get useful as an idea, I mean, so far, philosophically interesting maybe, but where it starts to get really useful is the implication that if you change how you think about something, anything, people, places, events, your experience of them will change. And this can be used for healing people, places, and events. Because you have the power, as well as the right, to change how you think about something, and its experience will change. Now, that's the most amazing thing about this. Your experience of it will change, and you'll start to become aware of things that you were never aware of before. And they could have been in front of you all the time, or maybe not. Maybe there is a part of you that really does create your reality. But there could be things there. But when you change your mind, or change your interpretation, or change your point of view, or change your framework of beliefs about something, your whole experience of that can change. And because we're not alone in this world, that's a different principle, we're not going to talk about that tonight, but because we're all not alone, how you think about your world influences the people around you, and how they think about theirs, and how they think about yours. Got all this stuff going on, and all we have to do is change the way we think. Pe-kamana'o-ek. Comes the thought, comes the experience. Any questions about that? About the principles, about the culture? Yes?
If we can't, it seemed like you were saying that we can't take in something we don't already know.
No, that's not correct. We cannot take in something we don't have some little piece of connection to, unless it's part of a learning experience where we start with, let's say, for example, let's suppose that you're walking along a path, and you're in the forests, and you're in the mountains, and you walk along, and suddenly you see a trail of vines coming out of a cave. You don't know what's in that cave. You've never been inside that cave. You have no idea what you're going to experience inside that cave, but you are familiar with vines. And so you follow the vines into the cave, and there opens up this huge experience unlike anything you've ever had. But the only reason you're able to experience it is because you saw the vines that you're familiar with.
So we build our experiences on small
and at least some connection with something we know.
Small awareness that we already have.
Yes. You build new experiences on something you already have. Now, if you think that's too limiting, never fear, because you are carrying with you all the experiences of your ancestors. And your ancestors, that today they call DNA, okay, have endowed you with a very rich library of knowledge. Okay, so you've got a lot of things already in there that you don't know, maybe not be aware that you have. So there's not going to be a lot of experiences that are going to be absolutely, totally, radically new to you.
So, for instance, the idea that, if we saw an alien in Safeway, most people nowadays have seen aliens in movies or read about them or had
Sure,
in their mind.
sure.
So maybe they would.
So maybe they think it was a costume.
So what's an easy way, I'm asking all the questions, but what's an easy way then to access the memories of your ancestors?
Don't worry about it. Oh, if you really, in other words, when you encounter something that they relate to, memories and ideas or inspirations will come up. Okay? Even when you are inspired by spirit, you can't grasp that and accept that and do anything with it unless it matches something you have. I'll give you an example. When I was doing a lot of psychic research and researching people who were channeling information, and I spent some time focusing on the ones who were channeling information from Atlantis. Okay? Well, the problem was none of the information they came out with about how things worked in Atlantis was usable or workable or could be applied to anything today. The reason being they weren't engineers. So they may be something, just imagine that you had the ability to go back in the future. Let's make it simple. Imagine that you've had the ability to go into the future and see inventions and civilization in the far future, and then you come back here and you try to tell somebody about it. Well, it's bad enough trying to tell somebody about it, but imagine that you don't have the technological expertise to explain it in terms that anybody can understand and do something with. This may have been one of the problems with Leonardo da Vinci, who had all kinds of fabulous inventions that could have worked, except not in his time. We're doing many of exactly the same things that he wrote about and drew, and he could not make them work in his time.
Why is that?
What's that?
Why is that?
Because there were not the surrounding beliefs to sustain the concept. So it's like you may be able to levitate, but probably not in company. Okay? Because the beliefs of the people around you are going to influence what you're capable of. And not only that, they're going to influence the way, I'm trying to get you a deeper sense here, they're going to influence the way things work.
So what makes us impervious to others' beliefs?
We cannot be impervious to others' beliefs. The best we can do is have such a powerful focus that we draw others into our beliefs. Okay? And so you can have a gathering of small people or a gathering of large people depending on your charisma and your focus. But impervious to their beliefs, no. Less influenced by them by your energy and by your focus. Yes. You remember, just bring something up that a lot of people are already familiar with, and that's in the Bible when it talks about Jesus not being able to do his miracles in his hometown. Because as far as everybody was concerned, hey, that's Joe the carpenter's kid. Okay? And miracles were not part of their concept of interpreting who and what he was.
So do you think he gained in power as his reputation grew?
All we know are what's been written down, what's been handed down. and he just kept doing a lot of amazing things according to the records. And we have no sense of growth in there, because apparently from the stories he was able to do pretty incredible things when he was very young too. What little we have of that. If he were an ordinary human being, then there would be growth. Because ordinary human beings do grow in knowledge and skill as long as they keep their focus.